While this man is on a journey of physical and spiritual healing, the brilliant neurosurgeon is drawn into the world of the mystic arts. Welcome to Magician Recaps Explains. Let's watch how Stephen Strange became Dr. Strange. Let's start our story right away. In Kathmandu, Nepal, the sorcerer Caecilius and his zealots enter the secret compound, called Kamar-Taj, and behead its librarian. From the ancient and mystical texts, they steal a ritual from a book belonging to the Ancient One, a sorcerer who has lived for an unknown time, and taught all at Kamar-Taj, including Caecilius himself. In the ways of the mystic arts, the Ancient One tells him, the book he has stolen is only going to wield him sadness and sorrow. Yet she pursues the traitors, and traps Caecilius in a mirror dimension, but he escapes with the pages, and some of his followers by opening up a portal out of the mirror dimension. Stephen Strange, an acclaimed neurosurgeon, loses the use of his hands in a car accident. Strange was very proud of his skill, which he had gained after several years of studies and practice. He considered himself to be a student of science, and had extremely steady hands which allowed him to conduct the most difficult cranial surgeries with utmost precision. After the accident, his surgery required 11 surgical pins to be inserted into his bones, and massive nerve damage in both hands. His operation lasted for 11 hours. Meanwhile, the recovery is slow, and there is still massive tissue damage. Fellow surgeon and former lover, Christine Palmer, tries to help him move on, but Strange, firmly believing he can regain use of his hands, instead uses all his resources pursuing experimental surgeries. He submits himself to experimental procedures to help speed up the recovery process, but he cannot gain back any meaningful strength in his hands. World's leading experts give up on him. Strange learns from his physiotherapist that there was one case in his career who was paralyzed from the waist down, and after a few years he saw the man walking by him on the street. Strange challenges the physiotherapist to fetch the medical file on the person. After learning of Jonathan Pangborn, a paraplegic who mysteriously was able to walk again, Strange seeks him out. Pangborn came back from a place from where he was not supposed to. Pangborn says that he even came to meet Strange, and he refused to see him, as the best doctors do not take on hopeless cases to protect their reputation. Strange begs Pangborn and is directed to Kamar-Taj. Jonathan tells Strange that he had given up on his body, but in the presence of his guru, he trained his own mind, and thereby healed his body. In Kathmandu, Strange looks for Kamar-Taj for many weeks. Still searching, he encounters thieves, who ask for his watch. Strange begs them, revealing that's all he has left, but they still insist. Strange punched one in the face, and they started beating him up, only for another sorcerer, Mordo, to intervene and stop the attack. Meanwhile, Mordo has been following him up all these while, and he's under the Ancient One. He gives his watch back to him, tells him he's looking for Kamar-Taj. At the entrance, Mordo tells him to forget about everything he knows, and he is then taken inside. The Ancient One says that the spirit of the body can program the cells to self-heal. Naturally, Strange is skeptical and even dismissive of the Ancient One. She compares him to a glass that is already full, and hence cannot learn anymore. The Ancient One shows Strange her power, revealing the astral plane and other dimensions such as the mirror dimension. She says that the universe is only one of an infinite number, and at the root of reality, mind, and matter meet. Some universes are benign and give life, while others are full of hunger and contain evil forces which are older than time itself. Amazed and shocked, Strange begs her to teach him, but they cast him out. Relentless Strange did not go, and stays at the door in any condition to be called back in. Mordo speaks to the Ancient One, and she eventually agrees, despite his arrogance, which reminds her of Caecilius. Mordo convinces the Ancient One that Kamar-Taj might need a person like Strange if Caecilius manages to decode the stolen pages and summon the dark forces. Mordo gives Strange the Wi-Fi password, insisting that they are not savages. The Ancient One shows him how the mystic arts work, but Strange reveals his hands are not steady. How can he perform all these arts, only to be told by her that he needs to practice? Strange begins his tutelage under the Ancient One and Mordo, and learns from the ancient books in the library, now presided over by the Master Wand. He learns to harness energy from the infinite multiverses to power spells that create shields and weapons, but it's not just working for him alone. The Ancient One asked to train with him alone. She told him to surrender and abandon his ego. Just then, she opened a portal to Mount Everest, and she hurriedly left Strange there. He tries again to open the portal, but he still finds it hard to do. Mordo asked her where Strange is, and the Ancient One reveals he will be in soon, only for Strange to appear from a portal whilst his whole body is covered with ice. Strange is alone in the library, and realizing that Wong isn't available, he takes the time stone to practice with it, only for Wong to interrupt. He learns that Earth is protected from other dimensions by a spell formed from 3 buildings called sanctums, found in New York City, London, and Hong Kong. The task of the sorcerers is to protect the sanctums, though Pangborn chose to forego this responsibility in favor of channeling mystical energy into walking again. Wong then tells Strange about Dormammu, the supreme being of the dark dimension, who invades universes, and bring them into his dark dimension. Dormammu is a being of infinite power and endless hunger. He hungers for Earth most of all. The ritual that Illya stole was to contact Dormammu, and to summon him from the dark dimension. Strange advances quickly over several months, even secretly reading from the text Illya stole from, and learning to bend time with the mystical eye of Agamotto. Mordo and Wong warn him against breaking the laws of nature, comparing his arrogant yearning for power to that of Illya, who believes, after the deaths of his loved ones, that everyone should have eternal life. Illya and his followers use the stolen pages to begin summoning the powerful Dormammu of the dark dimension, where time does not exist, and all can live forever. This destroys the London sanctum, and sends Strange from Camartage to the New York sanctum. The Zealots then attack there, where Strange holds them off. He is hit to break a glass containing the levitation cloak, freeing it. Later on, Illya attacks Strange to fall to his death, but the cloak hurriedly held him up, and Illya is suddenly trapped. Illya then reveals the source of the Ancient One's immortality. Just then, Strange is stabbed by one of the Zealots. With the aid of the levitation cloak, Strange opens a portal to the hospital, in order to get to Christine for help. She's surprised to see him, but they hurriedly go to the theater, since Strange is dying. Just then, he goes unconscious, and his astral plane shows Christine where to inject. The Zealot who is held by the levitation cloak also removes his astral plane, only to go after Strange. They fight until Christine helps with a shocker, helping Strange to destroy the Zealot. Strange then comes consciousness, and opens a portal to return to the sanctum, until Mordo and the Ancient One arrive. Strange and Mordo become disillusioned with the Ancient One, after Illya reveals that her long life has come from her own use of Dormammu's power. Later on, Illya mortally wounds the Ancient One, and escapes to Hong Kong. The Ancient One tells Strange that he too will have to break the rules, to balance Mordo's steadfast nature. She then dies despite the best efforts of Strange, and a bewildered Palmer. Strange and Mordo arrive in Hong Kong to find Wong dead and the sanctum destroyed, with the dark dimension already engulfing Earth. Strange uses the eye to turn back time, and save Wong, before creating an infinite time loop inside the dark dimension that traps himself and Dormammu in the same moment forever. After killing Strange many times but to no avail, Dormammu reluctantly agrees to leave Earth if Strange undoes the time loop, Dormammu taking Illya and the Zealots with him. Earth is freed. Disgusted by Strange and the Ancient One's disregard for the consequences of defying nature, Mordo departs. Strange returns the eye, which Wong calls an Infinity Stone, to Camartage, and then takes up residence in the New York sanctum to continue his studies. In a mid-credit scene, Strange decides to help Thor, who has brought his brother Loki to Earth to search for their father, Odin. In a post-credit scene, Mordo confronts Pangborn, and takes the energy he uses to walk, stating that Earth has too many sorcerers. That's all for this recap. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Also share your thoughts in the comments section. Also, you can tap on the link in the description to join our Telegram channel, if you want the full movies. Welcome to Magician Recaps Explains. We are recapping 2015 blockbuster movie, The Man from U.N.C.L.E. Let's start our story. 1963, in West Berlin. Napoleon Solo Henry Cavill makes his way through Checkpoint Charlie from West to East Berlin, but notices a tracker has been placed in his bag, which implies he's being followed by a Russian top agent, Illya Kuryakin. Later on, Solo goes to a chop shop garage where he meets Gabby Teller. Gabby's father is being forced to build an atom bomb for the Nazis. Solo's mission is to get her out of Berlin, so they can find her uncle, Rudy, and have him set up a meeting between her and her dad. As they make their way to the border, they're chased by Kuryakin, who turns out to be Solo's match. However, Solo has help. Waiting on the other side of the wall is a CIA truck that shoots a zipline up to the roof where Solo and Gabby end up. They're able to zipline over the Berlin Wall. Kuryakin is right behind them, but the truck backs up, making slack in the line, and leaving Illya on the other side of the wall. This is a flashback to Kuryakin's briefing on Solo. Solo came to Europe during the Second World War, but stayed there, and became a master art thief. He was eventually captured, but the CIA felt his skills were too good to be wasted in a prison, so they recruited him. So in the present, CIA specialist Sanders meets with Solo at a park. In the restroom, he lays out the mission. It's Illya Kuryakin. They immediately start a fight and Kuryakin overcomes Solo. The KGB director, Oleg, comes in and tells Curie, "Don't kill your partner on your first day." Solo then asks what that means. The CIA and KGB have struck a deal and are sending Solo and Curie on a joint mission. They have to go to Rome, where Curie will pose as Gabby's fiancé and Solo as an antiquities dealer. They believe a family business there that Gabby's uncle Rudy works for is a front. The business has been in Alexander's family, but actually his wife Victoria is the brains behind the operation. Curie and Solo get to know each other by revealing what they've discovered in each other's files. Solo triggers Curie's rage issues, but the Russian manages to keep them in check. Meanwhile, a man named Waverly checks into the hotel in Rome, right before Napoleon does. When Napoleon checks in, he notices a couple of guys who are clearly evil henchmen in the lobby. He has his bags brought to his room, but he takes off. On the streets of Rome, Curie and Gabby bond a little. Solo shows up and tells Curie that he's going to get mugged, to convince the bad guys that he's really a Russian architect, his cover, and not a super badass secret agent. His instructions are to be a dumb. Just get mugged, and don't fight back. The mugging happens, and even though the thugs take Curie's father's watch, and Gabby's engagement ring, and he manages to suppress his rage and submit, Solo pops up, and they all go back to the hotel. Solo and the hotel desk clerk drink champagne, and wind up in bed. Meanwhile, in the engaged couple room, Gabby chugs vodka, and tries to get Curie to dance with her. He won't, so she slaps him, and they start wrestling. As things were about to get interesting, she passes out and Curie tucks her into bed. In the morning, Solo discovers about a dozen monitoring bugs in his room. He goes to Curie's room, and hands them to him, telling him that they're Russian-made. Curie also goes back in, and comes back, and hands Solo about a dozen bugs too, and says that they're American-made. Later on, Curie meets Gabby in front of the hotel, and gives her a brand new engagement ring. Solo heads to a party that Victoria is throwing. On the way in, he literally bumps into Waverly, later revealed to have picked Waverly's pocket, and steals his invitation. Solo crashes the party, and gets in a fight with security because he doesn't present an invitation. Victoria takes notice, and Solo shows his invitation. He manages to lift her necklace, and another woman's bracelet. Victoria asks how he got an invitation, and who he is. He says his name is Davini, and that he specializes in filling the gaps in people's collections. He gives her the bracelet and the necklace. Gabby and Curie are also at the party. Rudy disses Curie by wondering if Gabby is slumming it like a racehorse with a workhorse. Curie gets angry, and goes into a bathroom, but three young Italian aristocrats prevent him from using the sink, and tell him to use the ladies' washroom instead. He finally gives in to his anger, and closes the door to rough them up. Alexander takes a keen liking to Gabby right away, and he asked her out, only for Curie to interrupt. Back at the hotel, Curie has locked himself in the bathroom, which he has turned into a dark room, and is developing film. His camera was able to pick up on radiation on clothing at the party. Therefore, Gabby's father must be near and working on that atomic bomb. Both Solo and Curie say that they'll sleep on this new information, but later, they both break into the company's factory in the middle of the night. While Curie is clearly the muscles between the two of them, Solo is more cunning, and manages to break into a large bank-style safe. It's empty, except for a centrifuge used for enhancing uranium. Solo thought that model of safe didn't have an alarm. Wrong, they escape by jumping out of a window, and onto a boat. Solo asks if there's a way he can help, but Curie states it clearly that he can't help him in any way. So Solo falls off without Curie's knowledge, and swims to a dock where he finds a truck. Inside is the driver's dinner, which he casually eats while Curie gets chased in circles by guards on a well-armed boat. They blow up Curie's boat. Solo drives away but has second thoughts. He returns, crashes his truck onto the bad guy's boat, and then rescues a drowning Curie. Victoria sees that the safe has been opened, and calls Solo's hotel room. No answer. Rudy calls Gabby and asks to apologize to Curie, but she says he's asleep. He then informed Gabby to set up a meeting for only the two of them, and hangs up. Gabby then calls room 304 to tell the person on the other end that the meeting is confirmed. Victoria and her goons race to the hotel, but Solo and Curry get there first. They see her at the reception. She asked the receptionist to call but no response. She then asked for the keys to the room. Solo hurriedly rushed back inside. She opens the room only to find him coming from a washroom. She and Solo get it on in his room, 807, and she tell her guards to move away. The next morning, Curry awkwardly turns on a tracker that's on Gabby's garter belt, making lots of sexual tension there. Gabby then meets with her uncle and says that she knows her father is there and that he works for him. Rudy asks how she knows, but he didn't answer yet. Instead, Curie, who's monitoring from afar, start running from dogs. Solo meets with Victoria. He pours himself a drink, but not knowing she's drugged it. He then wakes up strapped to an electric torture chair. Rudy is an evil Nazi scientist who keeps a scrapbook of all the horrific stuff he's done. He has a blank page just waiting for Solo. Fortunately, there's a short in the electric chair. Curie comes back to rescue Solo. He tells him to keep quiet. He rescues Solo and straps Rudy into the chair. He tells them that the warhead is already built. Curry and Solo step out of the room to debate what to do with Rudy. In the background, the short in the electric chair fixes itself, and Rudy gets electrocuted to the point of bursting in flames. Gabby is brought to an island, where her dad is working. She slaps him and tells him to finish the job. Alexander and Victoria seem happy with this. Meanwhile, Waverly, who turns out to be a member of the British intelligence, informs Solo and Curry about the situation. The Brits knew that it was only a matter of time before someone grabbed Gabby to try to get her dad to finish the atomic bomb. They assumed it would be the Nazis. They were surprised that it was the Russians and the Americans. So Gabby has been working undercover with the British this whole time. She gains the trust of the bad guys by telling them that Curry and Solo are secret agents. She knew that her new engagement ring would have a bug in it, and that Curry would be listening. Solo says that he thinks the British were working with her, but now that they've lost her, they need the American and the Russians' help. Curry and Solo are both told by their respective superiors to get the warhead and the disc with Professor Teller's research. Also, to kill the other if necessary. On the island, Gabby and her dad try to switch lenses on the warhead, but Victoria notices. There is also a second warhead. She orders Gabby be put in a cell and tells her father to finish with the threat of her death. He does, but Victoria takes his disc and the backup he had hidden, then shoots him. Time for a super stylized and ultra cool breaking-in montage as Solo and Curry storm the island. During it, Solo finds Curie's father's watch on a guard and grabs it. They find that Gabby and the warhead on the far side of the island in a jeep being driven by Alexander. Solo chases in a dune buggy, while Curry is on a motorcycle. The vehicles all crash. Alexander and Curry fight and Curry stabs him in the head with his knife. Turns out though, this is the wrong bomb. Victoria disappeared with the right one. Solo remembers that Alexander's family used a fishing boat to smuggle gold for the Nazis. He also remembers the name of the boat from an old childhood photo of Alexander. They radio the boat and Solo taunts Victoria about the way her husband died. They stay on the radio long enough for the good guys to track the boat. Turns out that the two lenses that were in the bombs make it so that one bomb can take out the other. They launch the decoy bomb and blow up Victoria, the atomic bomb, and the fishing boat. Gabby apologizes to Curry and returns the engagement ring. He tells her to keep it so that he can know if she ever needs him. Curie's boss tells him that the professor's disc wasn't destroyed but that Solo has it. Curry goes to his room. Solo pours drinks for the two of them. Curry sees the disc and is filling with rage. In attempt to engage in gun duel, Solo gives him his father's watch and reveals the disc. They both decide to destroy it. Waverly and Gabby show up. Waverly says that he's decided to keep the group together and that they have a new code name, U.N.C.L.E. United Network Command for Law and Enforcement. Over the end credits we see everyone's dossiers. In one little detail, Gabby is currently learning to speak Russian. That's all for this movie recap. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more interesting movies. Share your thought in the comments section below. See you next time. Welcome to Magician Recaps Explains. A young boy is orphaned when his father is murdered in front of his eyes, and he escaped. 20 years later, the boy has grown into a talented and deadly martial arts fighter, driven by a desire to avenge his father. To conceal his true identity, he calls himself Snake Eyes, a name inspired when his father's murderer forced him to roll a pair of weighted dice to determine his fate, killing him when he rolled double ones. Wealthy Yakuza boss Kenta Takamura discovers Snake Eyes in an underground fighting circuit. located in Los Angeles. Kenta offers to find his father's killer if Snake Eyes will work for him. Snake Eyes initially declined the offer, but with the condition of providing his father's killer, he accepts. Kenta organizations smuggle drugs and guns inside fishes. When Snake Eyes is asked to prove his loyalty by shooting a man who betrayed Kenta's trust, by accusing the man of being an undercover spy, Snake Eyes refuses. The man is Tommy, and he had been kind and fair to Snake Eyes and Kenta's organization, unlike the rest of his troops, and instead helps the traitor escape. Tommy wants to kill Kenta and refuses to escape without killing him. Snake Eyes has to intervene multiple times to keep Tommy safe, and eventually Kenta has to back off when the police arrive. Snake Eyes is stabbed in the attacks. The traitor is Kenta's cousin, Tomasaburo, shortened as Tommy Arashikage. Tommy and Kenta were both in line to lead the Arashikage clan, an ancient ninja society devoted to preserving order and fighting evil. Kenta sought to kill his cousin, but failed, and was banished. Kenta was therefore smuggling guns into Japan, via US, to stage a coup against the clan, and Tommy was undercover to stop him. For him being grateful to Snake Eyes, Tommy takes him to his ninja dojo in Tokyo, Japan, and asks that he be initiated as a member, stating it clearly that he will need warriors that he can trust with his life, since he's going to be the clan leader someday, because it's his birthright. The current clan Arashikage leader, Sen, Tommy's grandmother, agrees to let Snake Eyes undergo 3 trials to determine if he is worthy. Hardmaster, a formidable mentor of the Arashikage clan, and the uncle of Tommy, also Blind Master, a blind mentor of the Arashikage clan. The clan's head of security, Akiko, does not trust Snake Eyes, so she made inquiries of him but finds no information. She then tells Tommy that Snake Eyes is a ghost and can't be trusted. But Tommy still insisted he knows what he's seen in him, so she starts monitoring his moves. Snake Eyes goes to town on a motorbike to meet Kenta, and Akiko also follows him up. Snake Eyes, knowing fully that he's been tailed, outsmart her in the city. Later on, he caused a scene, and Akiko rushed back to his room to check if he's there. Upon several search, she found Snake Eyes coming from the watch room, and he wins her trust by revealing his father's murder, and explains it is why there is no recorded history of him. Unbeknownst to anyone, Snake Eyes plans to betray his new allies. Tommy's attempted murder and escape is shown to have been staged by Kenta, in order to get Snake Eyes close enough to steal the clan's most sacred treasure, the Jewel of the Sun, which has magical powers. Tommy tells Snake Eyes that the jewel was a gift from the Sun God, and the clan is sworn never to use it, even to kill evil, and to only protect it. Snake Eyes finds himself increasingly torn between his guilt over betraying Tommy, the clan, and his overwhelming desire for revenge. He passes the first 2 trials with his exceptional talents. First trial is to snatch a bowl of water from Hardmaster's hands in combat, without spilling your own bowl of water, in 4 attempts. Snake Eyes arrogantly fights and loses 3 times, and then finally remembers what Tommy told him, to forego his ego and pride. He then succeeds by simply asking Hardmaster to exchange their bowls of water, and he passes the first test. Tommy later gifted him a sword as a reward of passing the first test. Snake Eyes and the Blind Master go deep inside the forest to undertake the second test. The second test is an illusion that brings Snake Eyes face to face with his father's killers on that night, when they burned his house down. Snake Eyes is furious and attacks but is gunned down. He is approached by his father, who tells him it was not his fault, as he was just a kid. Snake Eyes unburdens himself of the guilt of his father's death. Snake Eyes and Tommy learn that Kenta is back in Tokyo, and aligning with the terrorist revolutionary organization, Cobra. Tommy then decides to go and attack Kenta, and Snake Eyes and Akiko also joins him. They spot the smugglers and starts attacking. Tommy fights his way through to get to Kenta, only for Snake Eyes playing for both sides to stop them from fighting, and Kenta escapes. They retrieve the guns and realize there's a Cobra tag on the box. Later on, Snake Eyes meets Kenta again, in secret, and says he has no intention to work for terrorists. Kenta explains to Snake Eyes that he is tasked to steal the jewel on behalf of Cobra. Cobra, through their alliance, the Ana de Cobre, or Baroness, has been arming Kenta with weapons, so that he can seize control of the Arashikage clan. Kenta and Baroness inform Snake Eyes that they have his father's murderer imprisoned, and will release him if Snake does not secure the jewel for them. The third and final trial requires his spirit to be tested by sacred anacondas, who can sense if he is truly pure of heart. Due to Snake Eyes' secrets, the snakes attack him, but Akiko saves him from being killed. Confronted by the clan, Snake Eyes admits that he has not been entirely honest, revealing his father was murdered, and all that he wants is to avenge him, but manages to hide the true reason he is there and is expelled. He later goes to Tommy and promised him, and they do a blood covenant, not knowing he wants to use his blood to open the safe. Snake Eyes later returns in secret and steals the jewel using his knowledge of the clan's temple, but he's caught by Akiko. He knocked her down and delivered it to Kenta. Kenta tastes the magic of the jewel by instantly killing his member, and promises to hand it over to Cobra once he has destroyed the Arashikage clan. Snake Eyes receives his reward for stealing the jewel, who happens to be his father's killer. It turns out that he's a Cobra agent. Having realized what his bloodlust has cost him, Snake Eyes spares the man, and instead goes back to the Arashikage clan to warn them of Kenta's attack. Snake Eyes, who Tommy and Akiko has been following up, realize he is now fighting for them, but Tommy is still not okay with him betraying him. Snake Eyes still fights his way through the guards, and Akiko also helps him take down some of the guards. Tommy confronts Snake Eyes, and they fight, until he tells him to defend the clan since Kenta has the Jewel of the Sun, and he's heading to the clan to destroy it. Tommy unwillingly agrees, and both fight together, and let Snake Eyes assist him, and the clan's warriors, including Major O'Hara, or Scarlet, a member of the International Peacekeeping Organization, G.I. Joe, in fighting off Kenta's men. Baroness helps Kenta corner Sen, and the clan is effectively defeated. After Kenta admits that he has no intention of handing over the jewel, the Baroness must form a temporary alliance with the Arashikage clan and Scarlet and defeated Kenta's men. With his men defeated, Kenta tries to use the jewel on them, but they outsmart him, and he loses the jewel to Tommy, who overwhelmed with fury tries to use its power to kill Kenta, but he manages to escape, not knowing Snake Eyes has been following him up, and traps him in the Anaconda Pit, where the snakes devour Kenta upon sensing his evil spirit. The snakes then judge Snake Eyes to now be pure of heart for foregoing his lust for revenge, thus now being worthy of joining the clan. After the battle, Sen strips Tommy of his birthright to lead the clan for breaking his vow never to use the jewel. He tries to explain that he uses it for the purpose of defending the clan, but the grandmother insists. Blaming Snake Eyes for this, Tommy forsakes the clan and family, vowing to kill Snake Eyes if should they ever meet again. Snake Eyes later meets with Scarlet, who, after explaining that his father was a G.I. Joe agent, offers him a chance to become a Joe, but he reveals he has something else to do first. That's to bring Tommy home. In a mid-credit scene, on a private jet leaving Japan, the Baroness recruits Tommy into Cobra, and Tommy has renamed himself Storm Shadow. That's all for this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Also share your thoughts in the comments section below.